At Ivaco Rolling Mills, on-the-job health and safety is more than just a promise. We've worked hard over the years to implement a comprehensive health and safety program throughout our operations and to continuously improve our policies, systems, and procedures. Let's begin with practices that are strictly prohibited on mill property because they are illegal, unbecoming, or pose safety risks. We call these our house rules. Prohibited practices include littering, smoking in unauthorized locations, distributing written material without prior permission, vending or soliciting without prior permission, misusing, destroying, damaging, or hiding property not belonging to you, theft, drinking alcoholic beverages or consuming, buying, or selling illicit drugs, reporting to work under the influence of alcohol or drugs, gambling, bringing weapons on site, threatening, intimidating, or interfering with other employees, fighting or horseplay, and taking any photographs, cell phone photos, or videos without permission from Ivaco Rolling Mills management. In addition, any activity that is illegal outside of Ivaco Rolling Mills property is also illegal on-site. Infractions to these rules may result in disciplinary action, which could include dismissal or even criminal charges. Let's turn our attention to day-to-day practices. The most fundamental safety practice is to remain aware of hazards and activities in your surroundings at all times. This includes such things as vehicle traffic, overhead work, tripping and slipping hazards, hazardous materials, hot metal and high temperatures, power tool operation, dust, fumes, and industrial chemicals, and working near energized equipment, to name only a few. In a work environment like ours, with so many different things going on, 4 questions will help to keep you safe. What are the hazards of the job? Is there any special training needed for this job? Do I have the right protective equipment for this job? If I have any questions about safety, who do I ask? If you're not sure what the job hazards are or how to protect yourself from known hazards, ask your supervisor. Safety begins at our front gate. To protect against unauthorized entry, visitors and contractors must register and display identification while on the property. On-site, video surveillance is used to monitor and evaluate activities, not just to enhance security, but to aid in detecting and responding to environmental, health, and safety issues as they arise. Inside and outside plant buildings, we operate in a high-traffic environment. Outside, industrial traffic includes scrap trucks, wire trucks, front-end loaders, locomotives, and delivery vehicles. These vehicles and emergency vehicles entering the site have priority and right-of-way. Added to that are many personal vehicles moving to and from the front gate to on-site parking areas, and large numbers of pedestrians, especially at shift change. Inside, expect to see mobile cranes, forklifts, scrap trucks, scissor lifts, boom lifts, specialized tracked vehicles such as ladle jackhammers, and automated equipment such as the Sundbursta coil transport system. An area of special concern is the billet storage bay. Employees and contractors are sometimes tempted to take a shortcut from one part of the plant to another through the billet bay. That is always a bad idea. It's a high-risk zone due to cranes, trains, and vehicles in motion. Lines of sight for crane operators and pedestrians obscured by billet stacks. Uneven footing. Hot billets still cooling after casting. And the danger of billets falling unexpectedly from the powerful electromagnets used to move them from place to place. Unless you have business in the billet bay, stay clear. Even if it takes a bit longer, use designated routes through the plant. What are the best ways to stay safe in a high-traffic environment? No matter where you are on mill property, stay alert for traffic and equipment movement of all kinds. If you're on foot, look for traffic before stepping into a crosswalk. move out of the way when vehicles or heavy loads approach you. Inside the plant, walk within the defined pathways whenever possible. Do not walk in high-risk zones marked by diagonal painted lines within defined floor spaces. Take special care around overhead cranes, especially in noisy areas that may compromise your hearing. Even when accompanied by an Iveco representative, check carefully before entering a crane workspace. Listen for warning horns and sirens, taking care to step out of the way as a crane carrying a load approaches and passes. Never stand or walk under a suspended load. If possible, establish eye contact with the crane operator before crossing a crane work area. If you are driving, follow the posted 20 km/h speed limits inside the security perimeter and obey all traffic signs and regulations. Sound your horn when approaching pedestrian crosswalks. At the crossing, bring your vehicle to a complete stop. Allow any pedestrians to cross before proceeding. Stop at railway crossings. If a train is approaching, stay put. It has the right of way. Take special care when entering doorways, turning corners, or entering other areas where your view may be obstructed. Again, sound your horn before entering. Park only in designated parking locations. Throughout the plant, you may encounter a number of visual and auditory warning devices. Look and listen for hazard warnings such as caution tape, signage, floor markings, sirens indicating that overhead equipment is approaching, and backup alarms on vehicles. If you see or hear any of these warning devices, take extra care. Look around, behind you, and above you. Note the hazard and proceed only when you are sure it's safe to do so. Fundamental to worker safety is the wearing of appropriate personal protective equipment, PPE, at all times. What does that entail? In the plant, you are required to wear clothing made of a natural fabric, such as cotton or wool, with long sleeve shirts. In some parts of the plant, additional protection is required, such as blue fire-retardant pants and jacket, an aluminized jacket worn in the steel mill in the vicinity of the electric arc furnace and continuous caster, or a blue arc flash coat worn by all personnel in arc flash areas. Everywhere in the plant, workers must wear a CSA-approved hard hat with attached hearing protection. CSA-approved safety glasses, complete with side shields, are also required PPE. Safety eyewear differs depending on the job, so it's important to know which to choose. Alternatives or additions to basic safety glass include visors to add protection against metal splashes or objects striking the face, goggles, which form an airtight seal around the eyes, particularly useful in dusty environments, tinted anti-glare glasses used in areas where intense light is an issue, and welder's masks. As a special note, contractors, like employees, must wear a face shield when grinding. Contact lenses are prohibited at all times because dust and chemicals can be trapped behind the lens and cause irritation or damage to the cornea. CSA-approved safety footwear with a steel toe and puncture-resistant soles must be worn in all production areas. Please note that laces must be done up to the top, and pants worn on the outside of boots. These precautions reduce the risk of debris or hot metal getting caught in open boot tops. In certain work areas, hand protection is required. In most cases, standard gloves with leather palms and abrasion-resistant cloth backs and cuffs are suitable. When air temperature in a work area rises above the trigger temperature stated in the current heat stress policy, workers are required to wear a cool vest to help prevent heat stress. The vests have internal pockets for reusable ice packs, which last about an hour at high temperatures. When the ice packs are no longer effective, they are returned to one of several freezers throughout the plant and new ones are inserted. When using a scissor lift, boom lift, or operating a mobile crane, a safety harness, complete with attached shock-absorbing lanyard or self-retracting lifeline, must be worn. The same precaution is required when working in areas where there is a hazard of falling from a distance of more than 3 meters. To summarize this section on PPE, accidents resulting in bodily injury can and do occur when required safety equipment is not worn or is worn incorrectly. For your own safety, never cut corners when it comes to the correct use of personal protective equipment. Please note that you are not permitted to wear a hooded sweatshirt, jacket, or other top while in the plant due to the risk of the hoodie snagging on equipment or protruding objects. In keeping with Iveco's waste management system, garbage and materials that can be recycled should be placed in their designated bins. Recycling bins for a wide variety of materials are located at stations throughout the plant. If you have questions about the location of these bins, ask the local supervisor. Chemical and oil products require special attention in a workplace like ours. Any chemical product brought on site must first be reviewed and approved by the environmental and health and safety departments to ensure that they do not pose any unnecessary risks. Drums or totes that contain chemical products or oils should remain covered when not in use to ensure that water or other materials don't accumulate in them, potentially causing an overflow. That includes empty containers. They too should remain covered or sealed. Spill and overflow response and reporting is everyone's responsibility. In the event of an overflow or spill, report it to your supervisor as soon as possible. If your job requires you to work with hazardous chemicals, you must receive training regarding the Workplace Hazardous Materials Information System. WHMIS provides information on risks, safe working procedures, and required PPE for each hazardous substance encountered in the workplace. Working in confined spaces presents hazards that may not be readily apparent. The main danger is that the space may become filled with gases, smoke, or hazardous dusts that prevent the occupant from breathing. Examples include enclosed equipment rooms, industrial tanks, tunnels, and ductwork. Iveco has a rigorous confined space program which outlines the dangers and entry protocols for each confined space. Entry into a confined space is permitted only if the proper permit is obtained by the project supervisor. Depending on the characteristics of a confined space, the supervisor may have to arrange for the space to be tested for oxygen and gas levels before workers enter it, and to make provisions for their safety. A worker within an enclosed space that presents a high level of risk must wear a safety harness. Depending on the confined space, the worker may have to be attached with a lifeline at all times. The lifeline must be attended to by a confined space attendant whose job is to keep watch at all times from outside the confined space. If the worker or work crew shows signs of distress, the confined space attendant will take immediate action. The officer on duty at the security guardhouse must be notified when a worker is about to enter a confined space. The officer records the particulars and stands by to initiate a rescue if an emergency call is received. Any work performed on a machine or other type of equipment that has an electrical, kinetic, or mechanical energy source must be locked and tagged out before work begins. The procedure protects the worker from injury by preventing anyone else from inadvertently starting the machine while the worker is still present. As a contractor, you must contact and be accompanied by an authorized company representative before starting work on a machine, subject to lockout-tagout rules. The front of the tag includes 3 lockout scenarios. A danger scenario in which both a lock and tag are attached to the equipment, and caution and out-of-order scenarios in which a tag, but no lock, identifies equipment that is unsafe to use or is not operational. Fields are provided for a description that explains why the equipment has been tagged, the worker's name, the date on which the tag was attached, and the contractor's company name. On the back of the tag, fields are provided for additional information. Both sides of the tag must be filled out completely. When the lock and tag have been attached to the machine lockout point, the key is placed in a lockbox at a location close to the equipment. The lockbox is then closed and a serialized seal is affixed to it. The completed placard is placed in a clear plastic envelope and attached to the lockbox. Each worker on the job then applies his or her personal lock to the multi-lock hasp. Each worker's personal lock remains in place as long as he or she is actively working on the locked-out equipment. On completion of the work, the lock and tag are removed from the lockout box to signal that the equipment is again available for use. All contractors must pay strict attention to the established lockout-tagout procedures. Failure to follow correct procedures may result in dismissal, and you may be prevented from working for us again in the future. For further information on lockout policies and procedures, ask the local supervisor. Many tasks require the use of ladders, scaffolding, or lift vehicles. You must use only approved ladders or scaffolding that have been deployed safely before use. Never climb or stand on makeshift devices such as chairs, barrels, drums, or boxes. As required by law, lift vehicles operators must receive full training on each type of equipment they operate. No person other than the operator is permitted to ride on the equipment. It is prohibited to lift personnel with any equipment that is not specifically designed for that purpose. When operating lift equipment, make sure that the equipment is on level, stable ground to reduce the chance of tip over. The work we do also requires the use of a wide variety of tools, equipment, and vehicles, each with its own safe operating procedures. Except for simple hand tools, you must receive appropriate training before you are permitted to operate mechanical equipment. If your job requires you to use a forklift or personnel lift vehicle, you will first need to take the appropriate training. Some of the machinery may have a guard. The guard protects you from coming into contact with a moving part. If OHS regulations say that a guard has to be used, it has to be used. Taking shortcuts by removing guards is unsafe, and it's against the law. To this point, we focused mainly on safety practices. What can be said about our health practices? Let's begin with what you should do if you feel sick at work or at home. If you experience any of these symptoms while at work, it's likely that you have contracted an illness such as COVID, the flu, or a cold. To protect yourself and your fellow workers, we ask that you tell the local supervisor and make arrangements to leave the site. If you're at home and can't make it to work because of illness, let your company's dispatcher, supervisor, or human resources officer know. They, in turn, are expected to contact IVACO. It is important to the health of your coworkers that you remain off work until your illness is over. Another important dimension of mental and physical health support at IVACO is protection against violence, bullying, and harassment in the workplace. This isn't just a matter of IVACO complying with federal and provincial laws dealing with these issues. It is also a matter of creating a workplace culture in which we respect one another and look out for the physical and psychological well-being of every team member. IVACO has a policy of zero tolerance for violence and harassment. If you engage in any violent or harassing acts in the workplace or threaten violence or harassment in the workplace, you may be dismissed and prevented from working for IVACO in the future. Let's look at this policy in greater detail. What is violence? It's the exercise or attempt to exercise physical force by anyone against another person in a workplace that causes or could cause physical injury to the person. It includes statements or behaviors that it is reasonable to interpret as a threat to exercise physical force against another person in the workplace, such as physical intimidation, yelling, using a threatening voice, or excluding a coworker from workplace activities. How is harassment different? Workplace harassment means engaging in comments or conduct against a person that ought reasonably to be known to be unwelcome. Some of the types of harassment that workers could experience include teasing, jokes, or action meant to intimidate, bother, or offend an individual. Display or circulation of offensive pictures or materials. Unwelcome, offensive, or intimidating phone calls or bullying. Or sexual harassment in the form of unwelcome comments or conduct against a worker because of their sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, or gender expression. Or making a sexual advance when the person ought reasonably to know that the solicitation or advance is unwelcome. It is everyone's business to prevent violence and harassment in the workplace. As you've seen, IVACO's approach to health and safety protection emphasizes prevention. But when emergencies do arise, response procedures, trained personnel, and appropriate equipment are ready and waiting. If evacuation is required, security personnel sound an evacuation alarm. All personnel, visitors, and contractors must then leave the plant immediately using the closest outside door and proceed to their assigned evacuation staging areas. At the staging areas, supervisors take the attendance of the workers and others present to make sure that everyone is accounted for. A map identifying the location of evacuation staging area for the steel plant, rod mill, shipping, and other work areas is posted on health and safety bulletin boards throughout the plant. If you are injured or are in danger on the job, an emergency response team, along with personnel from our medical and security departments, are ready to respond. These individuals are trained to respond to any medical or crisis situation which could arise on site. What should you do if you suffer an injury? It is a VACO policy that every injury must be reported. Even something as seemingly insignificant as a scratch on your finger should be declared to the local supervisor. Any injury that breaks the skin can lead to infection, so it's important to treat it promptly. If the incident requires first aid, a certified first aid attendant will assist you. If the injury is more serious, arrangements will be made for prompt medical care. In case of a small fire, handheld extinguishers carried with you or located in many parts of our buildings can be used to put it out. Once the fire is out, report it immediately by calling 911. If the situation is more threatening, don't try to deal with it yourself. Leave the building, call 911 to alert the emergency response team regarding the nature, location, and extent of the fire, and congregate in the designated evacuation area. Make sure to familiarize yourself with the locations of fire extinguishers and other emergency gear, and with the exits throughout the plant. These two are identified on a floor plan available on our health and safety bulletin boards. To repeat, if you witness an accident or a health, safety, or environmental hazard, report it immediately to the local supervisor or to security by calling 911. As you have learned in this video, VACO has worked hard over the years to protect the health and safety of everyone in the mill. To do your part as a contractor, stay alert to your surroundings. Wear required personal protective equipment at all times. Practice good housekeeping. Know how to handle hazardous materials safely. Seek prompt treatment when even minor injuries occur. Operate tools, equipment, and vehicles with care. Do your part to eliminate any form of violence, bullying, or harassment. Protect your health and the health of your coworkers by staying home if you're feeling unwell. And know what to do in case of an emergency. As you continue to work with VACO, there will be many occasions to learn more about general and site-specific health and safety practices. With your continued help and due diligence, we can all remain safe and healthy.